What's going on YouTube? JHJBorn here, and welcome back to another edition of my Godzilla comic reviews. And in this video, we're going to be talking about Godzilla Kai-Sei Era, issue number 12. This one is written by Tim Seeley with art by Giada Belviso, colors by Francesco Segalda, color assist by Gloria Martinelli, lettering and design by Nathan Wittick, and editor Jake Williams. So this is issue number 12 of this particular series. Now we have a total of like 24 issues of the Kai-Sei Era universe in terms of Godzilla comic books, and this is the first year in. We are now officially a year into this comic book series, and I have enjoyed it. I think it's kind of grown on me a little bit more as I've gone through. I was going to go ahead and post this video a few days ago, but I want to kind of go back and look through like the previous issues, and I also, because given there seems to be some sort of connective tissue between this and the Escape the Dead Zone book, I went back and I kind of looked at that one too, and it seems that G Mutant 1, where all these mutations have spawned, seems to have been the Wanderer. They don't say his, they kind of mention this character, the Wanderer, which is the same one from the Dead Zone, May, the girl who's like the Biollante spawn, who also has a past connection with Jacen, as we come to find out. She calls him the Wanderer, but as they're kind of going through the past, like, that's our real father. I'm like, is that like who changed them into mutants, or is that really the one that, you know, kind of gave birth to them too, helped, you know, procreate them in a way? So that's kind of where, like, I'm a little bit confused on that. I don't think it's 100% clarified, or maybe it kind of is, but that's just something I want to go back and look at some of the other titles just to kind of get a little bit more of a confirmation. But, you know, the Wanderer is the same character, and I think as we come to find out in this thing, this is supposed to be the Wanderer, aka Elias, beforehand. So he's G Mutant 1, and, you know, May, the girl, looks at him. It's like, that guy, they used him to make us both. He's our real father. So, yes, it seems the Wanderer is the character who was there to kind of create the G-Mutants. He was like the first initial test subject of that, too. So, I thought that was an interesting revelation, and that's a way to kind of tie both these, you know, comic books in together. Starship Godzilla is still kind of off in its own other part of the galaxy, though, but it's nice that we're getting a little bit more connective tissue between the books, since this is supposed to be a shared universe. And the last we saw the Wanderer, he was captured at some sort of like underground G-Force type base, and, you know, Onishi, who's the general who's in this thing, I think is supposed to appear in The Horror of Godzilla, which is an upcoming Godzilla comic book set in the Kai-Sei Era stuff, is kind of working with people within the Dead Zone, kind of under the radar too. So a little bit of government corruption of resources and all that too. Now, May, of course, is like vengeful against everything, but the only way they're kind of able to get to Jacen and kind of break him out of this little trance is through the help of Nuki, and, you know, saying how much she cares about him and all that other stuff and their connection. And she is eventually kind of defeated, and it seemingly kind of dies in the hands of General Onishi, who had a close kind of personal connection to this girl when she was younger, and she kind of just fades away into a rose. And you kind of see everyone looking on in horror as the two farmers, who were the ones who called her May and gave her like that name and showed her love and compassion more than, you know, what the government was doing, who wanted to kind of use these different people as weapons and such. So, you know, eventually she is kind of stopped. Who knows if she'll come back, or if this really truly is the end of this particular character. But it does start to set up some interesting stuff going forward with Jacen as a character who now seems to kind of want to turn completely against G-Force and just kind of annihilate them by the end of it, in a way. So we've been kind of setting up his, I guess, heel turn, if you want to call it that. Now, he still has some close connections to some of the people on the staff, but he's very much against them by the end of this thing. Even Nuki, who went through all that trouble to say, oh, you mean so much to me and all that stuff, she kind of denies him when they're out there. Like, G-Force is my home, and we can't be this thing, because then bad things happen to people that get close to me, or some nonsense like that. Yeah, after the bullshit of, after her going through all that trouble to save him, I was like, yeah, not really. And you can see him why he's justifiably pissed off after this whole thing. Yeah, so he's kind of done with G-Force as a whole, and, you know, he gets ready to go on, I thought I found here, blah, 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 but I was wrong about that too. G-Force has been using me since the beginning. They created him, could have destroyed everything, ruined everything in my life. I think I'm meant to destroy it. So, yes, now he's kind of fully becoming, like, the spirit of vengeance, like, with Godzilla as, like, being the avatar for Godzilla's spirit of vengeance in a way. Like, in a they're like now Godzilla's rage and Jason's are kind of like aimed towards kind of the same thing because he was created as a result of G-force, as we find out throughout this thing given the past. And I'm now that they've got the Wanderer kind of locked up and trapped somewhere, I wonder if they'll have them cross over at some point in this thing, or maybe Jason's going to go appear in that Dead Zone sequel book or something like that. But yeah, so G-force did help create Jacen and May and all these other things kind of used as weapons in response to Godzilla. So Godzilla kind of created him, but also like other things about that with the Kai-Sei energy and the G mutants and all that. So all this kind of like, it's like a circle, right? They're all kind of like creating each other in a way and causing all this like chaos and destruction and stuff. And yeah, so it seems he's going to turn heel against G-force, or maybe babyface, depending on the way you look at it, because G-force has not necessarily been perfect. They definitely have some areas where they've done a lot of wrong, but there are good people who kind of work under that like leadership, like we've seen with some of the other heroes who want to do good. I mean, you have, Riviera, Chiba, and, well, Incense is kind of annoying, but you got Nuki and all that other stuff kind of working under this organization who, they're still Jason's friends, and maybe they're going to have to go toe-to-toe against him because now Godzilla kind of lives within inside him as, like, this evil spirit of, like, Kai-Sei energy that's causing all this chaos and stuff, too. So I thought this was a pretty good issue. There's some interesting revelations there, too. I like how it ties into some of the other books. I guess one of the other books with the whole Wanderer thing. So I like I said, unless I'm misreading that, because they directly mention the Wanderer, and that's the same name in G Mutant 1. That's got to be Elias, right? Who we still don't know everything about based on the release of that book. I wonder where we're gonna get the follow up to like the Dead Zone, because it's been a few months since Escape the Dead Zone ended, and out of the 3 Kai-Sei Era books that we've gotten so far, that's the one I enjoyed the most overall. I found it the most interesting, and that's the one I'm like, oh, when's the next? I feel like Woody at the end of or in Toy Story 2 is like, when's the next episode going to come out? That's me with the Escape the Dead Zone book. I know it's eventually going to come out, and I know they're going to do a follow up to Starship Godzilla, but it's the Dead Zone one, especially where we left that one off with the Wanderer. I guess his name's Elias, based on kind of the ending of that like previous issue. We're still going to learn more information about him, and I don't know if maybe they should release more issues, or perhaps the timing of it was specifically to wait until after issue 12 of this to start releasing more, to kind of unfold the mystery, or the way they timed it or something like that. I don't exactly know, but I am intrigued to see which direction it's going to go in. I like the idea of Jacen kind of being created as a result of G-force and what they're doing. The characters he wanted to use as his vengeance against Godzilla in a way kind of helped create him in the first place and kind of ruin things in his life at the same time. Like I said, that's interesting. There's a nice conflict right there, but you also have the factor in that he has friends in that he cared about beforehand. I don't know so much now, given like his rejection kind of at the end of it from like Nuki and all that. But it'll create an interesting conflict going forward, and Godzilla is only going to kind of help fuel his rage and just be the outlet for him to cause all sorts of destruction. So I think the direction they're going to go in is him kind of going across the country to various G-force facilities, and perhaps that's where he uncovers the Wanderer, and they both kind of learn more aspects about their past and wanting vengeance against G-force, and they'll use Godzilla to do so, or something along those lines in that too. So, I mean, like I said, there's some interesting possibilities. And then, of course, we have Starship Godzilla, which kind of off in its own area. Perhaps maybe that they'll tie together when G-force and, Jacen and the Wanderer, that are all kind of at each other's odds. That brings in like the Starship kind of concept where the cosmic threat kind of comes in, and perhaps they'll have to find a means to settle their differences and kind of form one unit against like an alien threat. That's the direction I could sense it going in. But again, this is its own unique thing, and I liked it overall with some of the stuff that they've gotten in here. Artwork is pretty like solid throughout. I think there's a different artist off the top of my head that did it, so the line work is pretty good, and you get some good kind of action bits in there as well. And it kind of took moments to kind of like pause in terms of where the characters were at, and you could see their emotions, and you could feel kind of the tragedy in some things. So I like some of the use of visual storytelling in different parts of it. But yeah, like I said, overall I liked it. I thought it was pretty good. So what did you think of the issue? Let me know your thoughts in the comment section down below. Hope everybody had a great 4th of July weekend. And I got more stuff coming up next week. We'll see in terms of like where I go in terms of comic book videos. I may have to rush some stuff out because next week I am going to G Fest, so I'm very much looking forward to that. That's gonna be a fun, crazy adventure. I'm excited to see everybody. So expect a big G Fest vlog when I get back. I don't know if that'll be like a week or two after I go, but I'm really excited to get back there and see everyone and just have a pretty good time. So hard to believe we're already like been a year since the last G Fest. So, but anyways, what did you think of this particular issue? Let me know your thoughts in the comment section down below. Be sure to like this video, share it with your friends, subscribe to the YouTube channel for more content, hit the bell for notifications, all that fun stuff. As always, take care now. Bye bye then, and I will see you all in the next video. Peace out.